Legion Lost, number 11, written by Tom DeFalco, art by Pete Woods. Last issue left off with the Meta-Americans coming after the Legion and seemingly shooting Timberwolf. And I say seemingly, but they did. This issue has 3 different plots going, so I'm just going to go... Just know that they're cut between each other constantly, but that's really hard to explain, so I'm just going to say one plot after the other. So, Tellus is with Tyrock. He realizes Timberwolf's been shot, and he has Gates teleport Tyrock over to the area where that's going on. And we see that Chameleon Girl, I can never remember. She is up on the rooftop fighting the Meta-Americans. She's turned into this big, hulking brute monster thing. And they're like, wow, oh my god, this monster, let's get this thing rounded up. Get behind her. And they're like, dude, I'm sentient. I can understand you. I'm not blindly not listening to you. So very quickly, the one main Meta-American comes in with an American flag behind him as he jumps in and starts beating up Chameleon Girl. And at that point, Tyrock arrives and they start fighting for a brief second, but then immediately Tyrock is kicked in the throat by Meta-American. So Chameleon Girl, for some reason, is unable to shapeshift. Tyrock can't use his sonic power, so they have to fight just with their fists as normal. And Meta-American is just all up on oh, well, America's faced many enemies that we were not prepared to face, and you're no different. We will overcome you just as all before, blah, blah, blah. And Chameleon Girl is basically saying, we're not the enemy. And he's like, then why do you disguise yourself? And he's like, why are you disguising yourself? And he's like, shut up. So they continue to fight. Meta-American and the crew are pretty much getting the upper hand on them the whole way through the fight. And then finally at the very end, they're like, okay, in order to defeat them, Meta-American comes to the conclusion that they care more about each other's well-being than they do their own defensive. So instead of splitting up the team to handle both of them, everyone just attacks Chameleon Girl all at once, gets her severely injured, and then Tyrock lets down his defenses long enough for Meta-American to come in. And someone congratulates Meta-American. He's like, well done for exploiting their weakness. And he's like, no, it was a loathsome strategy, as if he has some level of honor or something. Anyway, plot number 2. So Timberwolf was shot, and Tellus, disguised, and the other guy, the human guy who Timberwolf befriended, they take him to a clinic downtown that basically handles illegal immigrants and people without insurance and people who are shot doing illegal things and whatever, and make sure that they can get some medical treatment. And they bring in Timberwolf and try to just want him to be in a medical place, even though his healing factor is pretty much going to take care of it on its own. And throughout the thing, they have Gates go and get Dawnstar and Wildfire back from the Antarctic. They can't find anything of Harvest, though Wildfire's kind of hey, Dawnstar, what about us? Maybe we should talk about... And then Gates shows up, and they're like, hey, Timberwolf's been shot, let's go. And he's like, great, thank you, Gates. So they go back to the, the clinic, and now there's 6 people all in this room looking over Timberwolf, and the nurse is like, all right, screw it, everyone out. There's too many people in here. And we see that Timberwolf, in his delirious state or whatever, is having memories of talking to someone named Colonel White back when he was in the future. And there's some big criminal guy who's part of an Echo unit. And apparently the Echo unit, they're people who they wipe the memories of these criminals and then station them back in the past. And they have no memory of who they are or anything they did. So that's their sentence, is they just are gone from the future. So finally, after some time, Timberwolf wakes up, Gates is by his side, and he comes to the conclusion. He's like, hey, what if we were stationed in an Echo unit? What if we have an officer looking after us to make sure that we don't get our maybe that's why we don't remember, we wouldn't remember it because our memories would be wiped. dear God, how high does this go? And Gates is like, huh, guess people call me paranoid. And then lastly, the final arc is once Dawnstar and Tellus are pushed out of the room, we see, and there's also a little blink of this other thing earlier, there are like corpses that are being completely drained, like of all of their fluids and stuff. And one of them ended up in the clinic, and that's who the doctor was looking at just before Timberwolf came in. And Tellus mentally picked that up, so he brought Dawnstar downstairs to go look at it. They traced the energy signature that it's Alistair, the original villain from the first arc. So they used that to find another body somewhere else in the city, and it is like a corpse that attacked this other random guy walking down the street. And then we see they finally track down this random guy who's there, and Dawnstar goes in first, but Alistair does something, because Alistair is actually inside the body, and he possesses the body of Dawnstar now. And so that's where the issue actually leaves off. Also, there's one page in here of Wildfire flying up above the earth, and he's like, my suit is broken, and there's no way I can fix it here. I will soon dissipate into nothingness. And then he goes back. So, yeah, there's that. So, a lot going on. It's fine. It's good. I mean, there's nothing in here that I found particularly, like, bad or whatever, but this did feel very disjointed. Like, I felt like last issue they were really going to focus on the Meta-American thing, but before that's even done, we're going back to the Alistair thing, and we're setting up a new Echo thing. Like you didn't trust the Meta-American plot to be good enough. So, yeah, I'm not going to give that points. I think that's kind of a little bit lame, and that we're just jumping around so much. But I do appreciate that each of the plots is at least being built up, and they're not just randomly like, oh, hey, then this thing. I do think the Echo unit could use a little bit more development, but I think we're probably going to take some time before we get into that. So overall, this is like a 6, maybe 6.5, but I'm going to go with the 6 just because I'm unsure of it. So yeah, nothing more to really say. I don't know which plot's going to get the central focus. I think probably the Echo stuff, but I also don't think, I'm not sure we have a whole lot more of this series after this. I know it's not canceled in the second wave of cancellations yet, but I don't think it continues for much longer, so we'll see what happens by the end.